Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Engini Room. I'm your host, Carmel. So today we have a very important guest. Our CTO and one of our co-founders will be coming on. So let's dive right in. Today we have Nimrod, who is one of our co-founders and our CTO here at the company. So Nimrod, thanks for joining us and welcome.
Happy to be here.
Great. Sounds good. So before we get into anything and everything, I actually want to start with your story and hear a little bit more about your background. So how did you end up here? What really pulled you into building products and into technology in the first place?
So technology, basically something I'm in since I can remember myself, if it's computers, if it's gaming, if it's building things.
Hmm.
And what got me into Engini? Basically, before I met Itai and Mikey, 2 years before, I wanted to build Engini. I wasn't able to find any partners to do it, unfortunately, so I continued with my regular day job until I met Itai and Mikey and joined. What I did before Engini, I was a CIO of a group of companies, 5 companies, 4 in Israel, 1 abroad. Did a lot of development related to ERP, business intelligence, some side products we had to develop to use internally in the organizations, and did many different things. And through my role over there, all the time I needed a product like Engini. All the time I was in need to do some. Engine started as an integration platform, so I needed to do some integrations between different softwares, whether it's SaaS, on-prem, ERP, whatever it is. And obviously, not having a development team in the company was a manufacturing company, so all the time we had to go to software development companies and let them develop it for us. So I was in charge of the project, of the design of the system, of the quality, making sure that we implement it in the organization well. And basically, I got tired from signing those invoices for those companies, and I told myself, I wish I had a product like Engini
Yeah.
before I knew what is
Hmm.
Engini, and that's what got me in, basically.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great recap. And, if you've done a lot of different things. People sometimes think it's like so obvious when someone decides to, become a co-founder, but it's really interesting to hear the whole story and how you got to where you are today. And since you've been at Ingenie, what's something that you were completely sure about in the beginning and that now you think maybe you've done like a complete 180 on that you know, change your mind about, right? Was there like a specific customer, something specific about the product that you've changed your mind on at this point?
Well, before I joined the startup, I thought I always had this idea that in order to sell something, you need to build it before. And I came very fast into a realization that you don't have the time to do that. And if you wait to do it, basically, you're not going to move forward at all.
Hmm.
And you need to sell what you don't have. And so that's the idea that I changed my mind about it like 180 degrees.
Hmm.
And I just got used to it, here in Genie, we build very, very, very fast today, and we ship all the time. And we just like, if it's something that we are planning to do, but not now, and we have someone in the end that wants this, so we'll shift the roadmap, we'll shift our priorities, and we'll just do it, and we'll do it fast. And obviously, in good quality that will eventually also satisfy the customer, and they will become
Hmm.
a customer. So that's something that I came in with one opinion, and today I hold a very, very different opinion about it. And this is something that I recommend to all startups and all founders today.
Hmm.
Don't build before you sell. You can make maybe a small thing, but you need to start selling to see if there is even some demand to what you're going to build. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, that's a great answer. It's really about like the product market fit, and sometimes you don't know how that looks like until like you're actually there shipping out the product. So let's get more into talking about AI specifically because I think there's a lot of confusion in the market about what AI can actually do versus what people, right, assume or think that it does. So, from your perspective, what's the difference between someone chatting with AI and a company like actually deploying an AI worker to run operations? Because those are obviously two very different things, right?
Well, you can do things while chatting with AI today. You can still continue doing it. It's just that it's not as productive as letting a worker do things for you and allow you to focus on what actually matters. So
Mm-hmm.
the difference is when you chat with AI, basically the time goes by while you chat, and obviously probably you'll get something working in the end, but you still worked hard for it.
Mm-hmm.
Where AI workers comes to life basically is where you give the worker an identity, you give them a responsibility, you give them guardrails, what they can do, what they can't do, what's in scope, what's out of scope.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you need to validate, okay? You need to validate very good before you ship it into production, because when you want an AI worker in the company in production doing stuff, there are errors that are tolerable and there are errors that are not, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the validation comes to life. The way that I see things is that an AI worker it's basically an LLM, an AI model is have a lot of knowledge. Okay, it's trained on on a huge data set. So it comes with the knowledge, but with skill, it's like if we take developer's position, so it's like a junior developer, but with the knowledge of a senior. So it
Mm-hmm.
will do mistakes unless you build and you set what it can do, how it should do. You need to give context, how the company operates, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what is the procedure. You need to learn them. It's basically you need to do an onboarding to an AI worker. But once you onboard, you can see within 2 months, you can see today even in less, you can see big value. But
Mm-hmm.
if you continue just chatting with AI, then you improve your productivity, but you're not getting to this 10x, 100x productivity. It's just not going to happen.
It's important to make that distinction. I think not everyone fully understands that, especially people that like aren't super technical. And obviously it's a lot more complicated to have AI work with live systems and real life business data, right? And making sure that it's safe and it has the right guardrails, like you mentioned. So can you maybe give me an example of something an Engini AI worker can, complete end to end that would normally take like an hour of someone's day, just so people can understand a little bit more about what we can do.
What we say is a lot of companies, you have every company has departments. You have the marketing sometimes, not all companies have marketing, but they have sales, procurement, finance. So those are also operations, and there are many things that can be done by a worker. What we see today is a lot of companies using it in the procure-to-pay process
Mm-hmm.
or in the quote to cash, where there's lots of back office that takes basically like 80% of the time
Mm-hmm.
and leaves the employees 20% to focus on what matters. So we help them change the equation and make 20% of their time on administrative work because most of the work is being done by the AI worker, including making decisions also. And 80% of the time, making him more productive and actually bring value to the company in what they are good at. For example, if it's in the procurement department, so instead of letting the manager or the representative of this department doing all day dealing with purchase demands and suppliers and things, letting them deal with negotiating with suppliers, actually bringing value to the company, and all the other work dealing with purchase demands, allowed, not allowed. Some approvals rounds and things like this are done by the worker.
Hmm.
So that's small example.
It's good to hear that, what we do actually works and impacts people's day to day really
By the way,
positively.
something worth mentioning about it
Hmm.
is there is a huge difference between a demo
Mm.
to actually implementing in the company, because every company has procurement, sales, and but every company works slightly different than the other, sometimes even a big difference than the other.
Hmm.
And that's why it will never be a plugin. It will never be like a template that you just take and apply on the company.
Hmm.
That's why you need also a platform that allows you this flexibility to you can take a template, but you can actually adjust it
Hmm.
without, being a developer to accommodate your needs and your requirement, basically. Another thing about this is that's why we see a huge increase in what's known today as an FD,
Hmm.
forward deploy engineer. It's basically what was once either customer success or professional services, but it's an engineer that is in charge on making sure that the company gets value from the product that they're implementing. He's actually there making conversations with the people,
Hmm.
making sure that the implementation works and making sure that the product brings value. Because again, it's not a template. You need to understand the process. You need to
Hmm.
understand the constraints. There are many different parameters that change between company to company.
Yeah, that's a great response. And I think it's great for people to hear that we can, adapt to anything. And we work with so many different industries as well, which is great. And then another question I have for you is what's the most complex thing you've seen an AI worker pull off so far? Something that even you were a little bit shocked, right?
So one of the first companies that we implemented the worker at, I was also part of the implementation since it's the first customers of it.
Hmm.
And basically what we did is we obviously took the design from them, understand their needs, build the solution and implemented it successfully. And in the end of the day, we have plenty of different employees in the company interacting with this worker. And suddenly it was like more than half a year ago. So it was really in the beginning of self-learning workers. So we had an idea, okay, now how can we improve it without us actually improving it? So making the best way to give an example is like we wanted it to learn from the interactions to understand what people need, which is now configured as out of scope, something that it can't do. The moment we identify a demand, we basically not we as we, but the manager who is in charge of the worker in the company is able to just in one click let him build this skill for himself. Okay, so
Hmm.
he can review the interactions. He can see something that's repeating itself, and if he decides that he wants to include it in the scope, then he doesn't need to change the prompt or change anything in the workflow. He just tells it, "I want you to include this," and the worker does whatever he needs to make sure that it's included, and without interfering with the day-to-day business of it, and without degrading the quality of the worker. So because
Hmm.
we have like a bar of what satisfies and what's not, so we need to deal with 90 cases within 1 hour. So this, I was amazed of it. We're only going to see it improve with time as long as the models are going to also improve and the context and everything.
I mean, it's crazy to see the pace that like AI is moving at right now, like things that we probably didn't think were possible last year, even a few months ago, are possible and happening right now. And I think, like you mentioned, we'll continue to see that in the world, but also at Engini, which is really cool to think about all the things that we are going to do in the future. Now I want to get into specifically enterprise finance. I know like we have worked with some of those teams and helped them as well. They have legacy systems, right? They're heavily regulated industries. They have a lot of manual work that they need to fix that we've helped with, right? So if you had to deploy an AI worker for enterprise finance, what's like the first process you'd help out with? If you had to think about that, or something we've already done. Yeah.
So basically, what we'll do is identify what hurts them the most. Like what today
Mhm.
is the big waste of time and the big waste of money and something that they can't ignore. And we'll basically tackle this issue to make sure that the value is received by the customer. So we, together with the customer, obviously, we identify this.
Mhm.
We design the solution that will solve this issue. We prepare also acceptance metrics, like what is considered as good, what is considered as bad,
Mhm.
before we start building, to make sure that how we validate ourselves, because the thing when building workers, in the end of the day, it's AI, and AI can suddenly make another decision. So you need to build metrics for validations that will help you measure the performance and make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. And it's also something that is decided together with the customer. For example, let's take finance department, you said. So
Mhm.
in finance department, many of them waste lots of time with, receiving supplier invoices,
Mhm. Yes.
typing them into the ERP, making sure that they are not making mistakes,
Mhm.
making the reconciliation between the invoice to the actual payment.
Yeah.
All of this manual work can easily be done by a worker, because today we have lots of experience with it, but
Mhm.
and we have out of the box templates that we just need to adjust for the
Mhm.
customers. But again, so what we take from the customer is their decision metrics, how they decide when to reconcile an invoice, when it's fully reconciled, when it's half reconciled, when it needs an approval workflow on top of this invoice, because the company might not approve the invoice because the supplier either made a mistake or someone ordered something you shouldn't do. So plenty of areas where they can be more productive and either do something else with their time that will bring more value to the company, or
Yeah.
whatever the company needs, basically.
And all those points you made are valid. Those processes, companies and finance teams specifically, they waste so much time, so many hours. They can be much more efficient using AI. So that's a great use case. And there's so much behind the scenes, back office operations, like you mentioned, that people don't really think about unless they're right on the team. So now,
Exactly.
yeah.
Also, something that was said in there is those companies have lots of legacy systems, and that's where we bring even more value, because we are able to integrate to those systems. Because if you just take a model of, doesn't matter if it's Anthropic, Gemini, whatever it is,
Mhm.
without actually being able to integrate to those systems, you have nothing but
Yeah.
a nice AI model. You need to have these deep integrations. You need to have also those to be compliant, because otherwise you won't pass the CISO of the company. So that's why we have also, if we have SOC 2 and we have ISO 27001
Mhm.
and we have GDPR and HIPAA compliant. So for us, it's very easy to pass this door, because once the CISO sees it, so you is very, he has quite in his head, basically. He's not it's not
Yeah.
a new company that steal my data or do
Mhm.
whatever they want with my data. And also they can actually integrate to our systems, and they have a valid build prepared and also experience with those deep integrations. So it's basically allowing us also to be much more attractive to those enterprise companies who are seeking not only implement AI, but actually build good solutions and secured solutions.
That's great. I was going to ask you about that actually, because, doesn't matter how much a company likes AI, if it doesn't pass a CISO's test or all the security protocols, compliance, it's probably not going to not going to work, right? And they have to
Mhm.
have that trust in the vendor and the provider to have all these things, which we do have. And now let's zoom out a little bit, talk more generally about AI. Obviously, it's still very early in terms of where AI is going and what AI can do. You know, who knows what's going to happen in the next even 10 years. So, what do you think? Like, what's something people are doing manually right now that's going to look different in 10 years that they're going to look
10
back on?
years,
Yeah.
10 years is, to be honest, it's too far.
Okay.
Today, with the
Mhm.
progress that technology makes each and every day and each and every hour, I can give my assumptions like 1 year
Sure. Yeah.
tops.
I mean,
So
mhm.
what I think will be in 1 year is we'll see around, I think, 40% of the companies actually implemented successfully AI. Today we are much low. We have a hype. We have lots of
Yeah.
LinkedIn posts on this and that, but the
Mhm.
honest numbers are far from where we want to be. So I think we'll have like 30-40%
Okay.
of the companies actually using AI in some way or the other. A small
Mhm.
percentage will still be, the early adopters and will use it wherever they can. My honest prediction is that if you don't try to incorporate it, doesn't matter what your job is, even if you're a plumber, okay? Even a
Mhm.
plumber can use AI, if it's to answer customers instead of him actually answering customers while they ring and he's actually fixing something. If it's actually managing his expenses and his invoices, even one-man shows can use AIs. If you're a plumber, if you're an electrician, it doesn't matter that you still have some manual work to do. But there are plenty of areas where you can be more productive. Those who want to do that are going to, unfortunately, to see a decrease in their business
Mhm.
because customers, doesn't matter what company you are, if you're a software company, if you're a manufacturer company, in the end of the day they value you by your service. Doesn't matter what customer it is. Okay. So you're always on time. You make sure that you do the work. And basically, those who will use AI will be able to serve more customers. Doesn't matter what they do. And once they are able to serve more customers and they are able to satisfy their needs and they get better rates, so they appear first on Google or whatever where they list themselves in. It's just going to be a gap between those who use and those who don't use.
Mhm.
I know it sounds like a bad prophecy, It's just something that sounds realistic to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I agree. I think no one wants to get left behind. But on the other hand, right, there's so many people trying to use AI, and not everyone knows what they're doing, right? Everyone's trying all these things out. So from your perspective, what do you think is the single like biggest mistake that you see companies making with AI right now, right? Those that are not getting left behind, you're really trying to innovate with AI because so many companies and organizations are right now. Do you think they're implementing AI too quickly, too slowly?
Um, I think it all starts on how they measure it because there
Mhm.
is a huge hype and now it's changing the curve basically. There was a huge hype on maximizing tokens usage. If you
Yeah.
use more tokens, it means that you're more efficient, which I totally don't agree with. So we need to measure on value based how much value you bring in how much time. Doesn't matter how many tokens you used. If you see improvements in the size of value that you are able to achieve to the company, that's what you should measure. So that's the first thing. Measure it in the way that it should be measured. And the other thing is build tools, build a good toolbox for your employees to use.
Mhm.
Don't just, subscribe to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. You need
Yeah.
to build around it. You need to have a stack ready for them to use. Doesn't matter if it's the finance department, or if it's the R&D department, it doesn't matter. You need to have a stack. You need to build the tools to implement it correctly. And that's why also we see what we do with AI workers. AI workers is basically giving the right toolbox to your employees, because it can be a worker for the sales department, for the procurement department, for the finance. This is where companies should focus at giving more than just the subscription to their employees, but actually building tools that allow them to be more productive.
Like you mentioned, if they don't have the right tools, then it's kind of useless, right? Like they need to have the right structure in place to implement AI and the right guardrails and everything else. So that was actually my last question for you. Is there anything else you want to add before we end off this episode?
What I can add is, don't lose your mind trying to be able to process this huge amount of data that gets into your social media every day. It's okay. We are humans. We are
Yeah.
not able to process this much. What you should process is things that you have interest in. If it's sports, if it's whatever, and start from there. If you don't use AI today, start by trying to use it where you have interest in. If you want it to give you a summary of the sports events that were yesterday, that's a great start. And just don't feel overwhelmed, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed. And from there, it's basically a downward spiral where you don't feel that you actually bring value, if it's to your company, to your wife, to yourself. It's very easy to get caught in this, unfortunately, today. So it's
Yeah.
okay. That's the message that I want to send to the human race. It's okay.
That's great advice. I'm sure a lot of people need to hear that, everything's gonna be okay, one step at a time. So great. Okay, well, thanks so much for coming on the Engini
Thank you for
Room.
having
It
me.
was great to have your perspective. And that's all we have for now. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for watching and listening to episode 3 of our podcast series. If you want to learn more about what a governed, autonomous digital workforce looks like, you can check us out at ingenie.ai. You can subscribe to our channel, leave us a review if you've been enjoying the show, and I'll see you on the next episode. Okay, bye.